COVID is still there, no? And kailangan protektahan natin yung ating mga kababayan dito sa Pilipinas, no? We should be cautious, we should be careful, no? And let's adopt the right protocol, no, to safeguard our citizenry.
Wala po tayong nakikitang pangangailangan para magsara tayo ng borders specific to this specific country o di kaya magkaroon ng mas maigting na restrictions para sa bansang ito. Naandyan pa rin yung strengthened surveillance natin, naandyan yung monitoring natin, at saka kailangan pag pumasok dito ay meron silang tinatawag na e-arrival card. Meron pa rin tayong requirement na antigen test kapag sila ay hindi bakunado kapag pumasok po sila sa ating bansa.
From the nation's capital, all sides, all the time, I'm Ed Lingao.
And I'm Maricel Halili. The big story tonight.
The Ninoy Aquino International Airport is brimming with passengers rushing to their provinces just a few days before New Year's Eve.
Aside from monitoring the influx of passengers, the Transportation Department is also tightening its restrictions for Chinese travelers amid the COVID-19 surge in China. Gerard de la Peña with a big story.
The holiday rush continues at the NAIA Terminal 3 with the influx of passengers who wish to welcome the new year in the provinces. The arrival area is crowded as many overseas Filipinos made it home after years of being unable to travel. Long lines are seen at the check-in counters. John Ray, who works in Cavite, says he is busy at work and it is only now that he can fly home to Iloilo after over a year.
Ngayon lang din kami binigyan ng bakasyon.
Genesis anticipated the hassles. That's why she came in at around noon, even if her flight to Palawan was scheduled at 6 p.m.
Masikip. Sa doon traffic po.
Traffic lang papunta.
Opo, kaya kailangan po mag-aga.
Transportation Secretary Jaime Bautista said the holiday rush revealed the long-standing problems at the NAIA, like inadequate facilities and lack of transport options to ferry passengers in and out of the NAIA complex. And he firmly believes that this can be resolved through the privatization of the airport.
It's the gateway to the Philippines. Yan yung dito pumapasok yung mga tourists natin no. There are a lot of improvements that we need to implement sa airport.
Bautista said the privatization would entail repairs and massive changes aimed at making the NAIA a world-class gateway. This parking lot right in front of the NAIA Terminal 3 will have to be reconfigured to give way to the construction of the NAIA station of the Metro Manila subway. This, together with the unutilized spaces around the NAIA complex, will have to be maximized. And this is what the DOTR will offer to investors who would want to partake in the rehabilitation and privatization of operations of the NAIA. Bautista said they currently work with the Asian Development Bank for the creation of the terms of reference, which will be shown to prospective investors for the bidding slated within the first quarter of 2023. But more urgent is the decision to impose restrictions on Chinese travelers amid rising COVID cases in China. Bautista said there is no need to impose travel bans, but the government should at least require passengers from China to show negative antigen test results.
We adopt protocols just like what the other countries are doing, no? Kasi syempre yung COVID is still there, no? And kailangan protektahan natin yung ating mga kababayan dito sa Pilipinas, no?
But if the health department were to be asked, current protocols are enough and that there is no need to impose restrictions.
Nakita natin ang ibang bansa na pumutok ang kanilang mga kaso, no? Libo-libo, hundreds of thousands, pero hindi naman natin sila sinaran ng border. Kumpiyansa pa rin tayo sa ngayon that we can adequately guard our borders through this kind of policies that we have in the country.
Officials said the matter has yet to be discussed with the Interagency Task Force. For News 5, Gerard de la Peña, we are One News.
And here to give us his insights on the possible restrictions for Chinese travelers, we have with us on the show infectious disease expert Dr. Solante. Sir, magandang gabi and welcome to the big story.
Hi, Ed. Good evening.
Hi, sir. Also with Maricel Halili here. Sir, well, una-una, I understand that it's still a proposal, pag-uusapan pa sa Interagency Task Force kung magdadagdag ng restrictions for Chinese travelers. Pero from your point of view po, from your perspective, should we put in more restrictions on incoming Chinese travelers?
I don't think we should put additional restrictions for Chinese incoming travelers. The current protocol stipulated that anybody who is not vaccinated should undergo antigen testing 24 hours before travel. And I think that would be enough for us to really screen those individuals who are from other countries, not only China. We should not isolate and single out China having the surge of cases. Remember, if China is having their surge of cases, this is a unique situation of China because this is the first time that they have this Omicron surge and driven by BF.7. BF.7 has been with other countries for so long now, and it has not caused any increase in the cases. Why unique in China? Because this is the first time that most of the population has relaxed their protocol, and obviously with a highly transmissible virus, cases should rise. So I don't think we need additional restrictions. We just need to monitor the cases. We need to strengthen our surveillance, and we have to protect the population by really telling them to be vigilant and compliant with health protocols.
But sir, other countries are already imposing stricter protocols for those who are coming from China. Don't you think it's also about time for us to at least i-add lang natin yung RT-PCR para dun sa mga papasok dito?
Well, Maricel, we will be going back again to that protocol of very strict border control. Remember, these are all driven by an Omicron variant of concern. Unless there is a new emergence of a variant of concern that is not Omicron, then that's something that the country should be aware of. But if you're talking about BF.7, BA.5, or even BA.2, which I think these are the drivers of infection, why should we strictly close our border when in fact we also have that variant of concern here in the Philippines? What's the difference between China and the Philippines? The difference here is that our population immunity compared to China is a lot better because we have more boosted population, particularly the vulnerable population. And in fact, you see, the BF.7 has been reported by DOH 2 to 3 weeks ago, and yet our cases is not that high and expected to increase in terms of hospital utilization. So I think we'll just have to monitor. We have to be careful in looking at this strict border control.
Sir, let me just back up a bit. Could you give us an idea kung bakit ang lala ng sitwasyon sa China compared to us? Considering na they manufacture their own vaccines. Of course, you have Sinovac among many other Chinese made COVID-19 vaccines. What explains yung surge sa kanila versus yung sa atin?
Yeah, the population that is being affected in China are mostly, so those who are hospitalized, are mostly the elderly population. The elderly population, vulnerable population, boosted population is really very low compared to the Philippines. That's one. Second, they don't have the mRNA vaccine. Western vaccine, most of our boosted population, now even if we have the Sinovac, but a lot of our population, when we administered the booster, took the mRNA, either the Pfizer and the Moderna. And studies are so detailed about this that when you are given an mRNA vaccine after receiving your Sinovac, your immunity, your neutralizing antibody protects you well against more severe infection, which is not seen in China because most of the population there are given the inactivated vaccine and not the mRNA vaccine.
Sir, despite the surge of COVID-19 in China, kumustahin ko naman yung sitwasyon natin dito sa Pilipinas. What's your projection? How do you see the number of COVID cases, especially after the holiday season in the Philippines?
I would say that because of increase in mobility, increase in gatherings, there will be a slight uptick of the cases. That is expected because factors like there are people or population whose immunity has waned already, especially for those who have been vaccinated 6 months ago. So most likely they can still get the infection. But in terms of rate of hospitalization, I don't think it will really affect significantly. And I would still say that we are still good in terms of rate of hospitalization among those who develop severe COVID.
Sir, pahabol lang, sir. Of course, we do all know that the President and the delegation are headed to China early next month. Should they continue with this mission despite the surge there in China, or are we well protected against it already?
Ed, I highly advise, no? So who are the advisors of the President? I would highly advise if people with the President or mismo yung Presidente natin should be receiving already the second booster, being 50 years old and above. If there is available bivalent vaccine before they can travel, I really highly recommend that they should be also given the bivalent vaccine, just to add another layer of protection, particularly against Omicron variant that is driving cases in China.
All right, thank you for all your insights, infectious disease expert Dr. Jean Solante. After the break, the Foreign Affairs Department says President Bongbong Marcos's state visit to China will push through despite growing concerns on the COVID situation in the foreign country. We'll be discussing that with Henry Lim Bon Leong, President of Federation of Filipino-Chinese Chambers of Commerce and Industry. That when the big story returns. Keep it here on One News. You're watching The Big Story here on One News. The Philippines is expected to seal over a dozen deals with China during President Bongbong Marcos's state visit to Beijing next week. The details in my report. Despite the COVID-19 surge in China, President Bongbong Marcos will push through with his 3-day state visit starting January 3.
A bubble arrangement has been agreed for the Philippine delegation to minimize the risk of exposure to the virus. And, may mga pagbisita talaga na hindi natin pwedeng i-postpone.
All Philippine delegates will go through daily COVID-19 swab tests. Those who will test positive for the virus will be quarantined.
That person cannot join the flight of the president for obvious reasons, right? So that person will have to wait until he tests negative before that person will go back to the Philippines.
Attending big gatherings will also not be allowed. This is the reason why Marcos Jr. won't be able to meet with the Filipino community in Beijing. But his meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping will go as planned. One of the issues expected to be tackled is the territorial dispute in the West Philippine Sea.
The president wants a peaceful and stable situation in the West Philippine Sea and will continue to uphold our country's sovereignty and sovereign rights during his meetings with Chinese leaders.
He is also scheduled to meet with other officials such as Chinese Premier Li Keqiang. Up to 14 bilateral agreements are expected to be signed. This will likely include deals on trade, renewable energy, and maritime concerns, among others. Marcos Jr. is also looking to secure over 1 billion renminbi worth of grants. The president's state visit to China will be his first official foreign trip for next year. For News 5, Maricel Halili, We Are One News.
And to talk with us more about Marcos Jr.'s scheduled visit to China, Henry Lim Bonlyong is now joining us. He's the president of the Federation of Filipino-Chinese Chambers of Commerce and Industry Incorporated. Sir, magandang gabi and welcome to The Big Story.
Magandang gabi ho, Ed and Maricel.
Yes, sir.
My pleasure.
Yes, sir. Sir, as mentioned nga kanina, we're talking about possibly 14 deals. Pero of these deals, any specific or what you would call key deals that we expect? Yung talagang from your point of view, significant, yung malaki.
Right now, of course, the state visit of the BBM to China is very timing, no? Considering that China will be soon opening its borders, no? And also relaxing their protocol by January 8th of next year. And of course, we would like to attract more Chinese tourists to come over to the Philippines. You know that Chinese has around 150 million to 200 million people going out of the country every year. That is before the pandemic. But we hope that we can get a bigger chunk of these Chinese tourists coming here. And aside from that, of course, there will be a lot of partnership now, from infrastructure to agriculture to energy, telecom, manufacturing. And all of this that we are seeing very positive now on the trip of BBM to China.
Sir, I understand you mentioned about yung mga iba't ibang agreements including sa agriculture. I heard nga parang meron din yatang agreement about sa export ng durian from the Philippines. So aside from these agriculture and other deals, and sabi up to 14 deals daw are expected to be signed, gaano po ba ka-importante itong mga agreements na ito, especially for the economy of the Philippines?
Actually, the bilateral deals between China and the Philippines may be more than 14 because there will be a lot of big businessmen who will be joining the president's trip to China. As far as agriculture is concerned, because China has already relaxed the protocol, quarantine protocol on durian. So we hope to export as many durian as possible. And as far as we are concerned, we would like also to export our premium rice to China. And I understand that by the first quarter of next year, they'll be again relaxing the quarantine protocol for rice. And this will really help agriculture. But right now, most of our bananas are already selling to China. We are also exporting to China. Just for myself alone, we have an open PO for 2,000 or 3,000 containers, which we cannot cope up. So China, 1.4 billion population, is really very affluent right now. And we should operate for the success of the state visit of the president of China.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course, sir, China is one of our biggest, if not our biggest trading partner, especially in the region. Ano pang mga area of cooperation ang gusto niyong lalo pang palawigin? Yung tingin niyong dapat pa nating bigyan ng pansin in terms of the trade between the two countries?
I think it will be really infrastructure also. Infrastructure is very important, and hopefully we are talking about the train from about to Tagum or whatever that has not been completed before the pandemic. And this will ensure the continuous support from the Chinese government. And aside from that, we are also looking, of course, to get a big chunk of tourists coming here. The Philippines got only a measly 2 million tourists now before the pandemic, while Thailand was getting around 10 to 15 million Chinese tourists. So we really have to work hard on tourism. And China is also going to open up later on. English school teachers or whatever, there's a lot of, not only school teachers, but a lot of us other workers, nurses and other things that they'll be needing also. And you should know that the Chinese population is getting older now, and they need young people like us in the Philippines to really subsidize some of the workforce. It will be a very, very, I think, fruitful visit for the president.
All right. Thank you for your time, FFCCCI President Henry Limbonyong.
And right after this break, the Health Department logs a 44% increase in the number of firecracker-related injuries. That and more when the big story returns. Keep it here in One News. You're still watching the big story here on One News. Hospitals are busy gearing up for more firecracker-related injuries this coming New Year's Eve. JC Cosico with the story.
A tent for firecracker-related injuries has been set up near the emergency area of the Jose Reyes Memorial Medical Center in Manila. At the triage, patients' details will be recorded, after which those with mild wounds will be treated in a designated area. Those with severe injuries who may need an operation or amputation will be brought to the operation room. At the OR, tools like a driller, saw, and wronger are laid out to be used depending on the severity of the injury.
Yung mga kailangan putulin po ay unang-una yung mga dumating sa atin na naputol na. No? So completion amputation po ang ginagawa. Yung mga nabali na pwede natin idugtong, no? as long as yung mga ugat, no? ay functional at hindi naputol, then sinisave po natin yan.
The hospital says that since 2017, victims of firecracker-related injuries have been getting younger. However, many of these victims were not even using firecrackers and are merely bystanders. With this, the health department said that all public hospitals are under code white for the new year. From December 21 to 29, the DOH logged 36 firecracker-related injuries. That's 44% higher compared to the same period last year, which only had 25 cases.
Ngayon parang medyo excited ang ating mga kababayan, lumalabas, nagpapailaw, nagpapaputok to celebrate. Magbigay-pugay tayo at magpasalamat na nakakalabas na tayo at nagagawa natin ang gusto natin, but not to the detriment of your health.
14 of these cases were caused by boga, an improvised cannon that has been banned by the government. Others were victims of whistle bomb, 5-star, quitis, and camera. Most of the cases are eye and hand injuries, while 2 had to be amputated. To date, there has been no reported case of firecracker ingestion. But should this happen, the DOH has this advice.
Ang gagawin po natin kapag naka-ingest ang ating mga kababayan o yung mga kapamilya natin, itong mga firecrackers na to, pupunta na agad sa pinakamalapit na ospital.
For News 5, JC Cosico, We Are One News.
The Bay Area Dragons made a monster comeback after beating the Ginebra Gin Kings in Game 2 of the Commissioner's Cup Finals. Mobile journalist Bel Gregorio gives us a front seat to the story.
The PBA Commissioner's Cup Finals just got more exciting after the Bay Area Dragons tied the series against crowd favorite Barangay Ginebra. Bay Area displayed intact offense led by their import Andrew Nicholson. Ju Song-wei also had hot hands early, scoring 17 big points all in the first 24 minutes. The Dragons ended the first half with a commanding lead, 52-35. In the second half, Barangay Ginebra unleashed their never-say-die attitude to close the Dragons' lead to 5. But the Bay Area Dragons held on and kept the fire burning to finish the game 99-82. Ju Song-wei was named player of the game with 25 points and 6 rebounds.
Tonight, we defended without fouling. We made the adjustments according to the PBA rules of playing D without fouling. And to move forward, we got to stay on that page.
With the series tied at 1-1, both teams are looking to secure the next win to gain advantage. Game 3 will be on January 4 at the Mall of Asia Arena. Mobile journalist Bel Gregorio, We Are One News.
And that's the big story tonight. For more updates, follow News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World Online. You may also log on to onenews.ph for more in-depth analysis. I'm Ed Lingao.
The big story is also available via Signal Play app. Make a free account now at signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Maricel Halili. Stay safe, Philippines, and happy holidays. We're down to our last 3 days before the new year, 2023.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.